Hello there, and welcome to another episode of CUZZO-OP. I am one of the hosts for this episode, Willie, and as usual, we've got my co-host.
IV, what's good, man? How we doing today? You ready? Are you ready, Willie? Are you ready for this one, baby?
I am ready for this one, First things first, happy Thanksgiving to anyone listening on night of release. I would imagine that there's not anybody, but just in case there somehow is, happy Thanksgiving 2023, We would have done something special for this Thanksgiving, but IV and I didn't necessarily feel like we had enough Thanksgiving films in our bag. And I know that there's a special franchise out there that might fit that criteria, but maybe we'll tackle that next Thanksgiving. But for now, we're gonna do the Marvels, man, and hopefully you guys just sit back and enjoy and listen to our thoughts.
You could look at it like you can be thankful that we saw this movie for you. You know what I mean? If you a Team Marvel hater right now, and if not, then we're giving you, now you got some homework as we head to the end of the year. The movies gets active. A lot of the movie theaters are packed in Q4 because that's when all the stuff that needs to come out to qualify for the awards. A lot of the showstoppers. I think about entertainment right now, and I just think like when you listen into a podcast with two dudes willing to talk about it, you know what I mean? It's a blessing. It's a blessing. You feel me? So I'm glad we here, baby. I'm glad.
I'm glad too, bro. So, let's just kick it off. First things first, there are three things that I really want to know for you, and I want the listeners to hear from you. First things first, as you headed into this movie, where were you with Marvel in general? Like, how are you feeling with the way things have been going? We've spoken briefly about it on our many Marvel episodes, whether it be our reflection on Phase 4 or Ant-Man, Guardians, Secret Invasion. We are always talking about this. So where were you in that headspace? Second, how are you feeling going into this movie specifically about what this movie was going to handle with characters, plot, all of that? And then third, very briefly, how did you feel walking out of the film?
Yeah, honestly, man, when it comes to my heart toward Marvel right now, if you've listened to any of our episodes in order, you hear a lot of our distraught thoughts about where Marvel is headed. Even though we're hopeful that they can get it together, that was kind of my heart posture when I came into this movie. It was like, all right, these guys have folded on so many movies, even the TV shows. What is this movie going to really do? If it's going to shift my perspective and actually provide me with some level of, okay, maybe they know what they're doing, then that's going to be a big task. And so I was just like, is the Marvels going to be the movie that carries that? Because Ant-Man was supposed to be a connecting point. It really didn't do that to me. Guardians of the Galaxy was an individual film, which it was great, but it's so individualized compared to so much more of the ongoing story for Marvel. We all know they've been lost. So all that being said, it's like, are the Marvels going to find us? Like, this is going to be the one that brings us in? No way. The only thing I could actually rock with, much like I'm sure as you, Kamala Khan. We know that she is the best casting next to Robert Downey Jr. for Tony Stark. Like, she lives it. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was saying what's cool about Kamala Khan that makes me excited for this film is that she could be any of us. She could be any of us as Marvel fans. She is a meta hero in this line. And if she's anybody that can create a new generation. So there are some things they do in this movie, bro, where I think they know that she has that power and that influence. They play on it really well. And that's part of why my behind was grounded. It was this like generational tale. A generational tale I don't feel like we've ever gotten from Marvel. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun time. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it did a good thing and it succeeded. It landed on its feet, in my opinion.
Yeah, so when it comes to those three categories for me, number one with Marvel in general, I just feel like they've been trying different things, trying new stuff to see what they can get people on board with, trying different styles of shows, but not necessarily full sending it, which creates a bit of a mess when you're trying to do something different, but also keep it very similar. That bothers me. And unfortunately, in terms of like Marvel is in shambles or Marvel is at its best, I'm nowhere. I'm almost at the point of just saying Marvel's a mess, but some of it is entertaining, and we can't really make a claim on any of that until the end, right? So that's where I'm at for Marvel. Just I'm gonna watch the stuff and I'm gonna make my opinion about it individually, and then we'll see how it connects. Number two, for this movie, I went into it excited for Kamala Khan because I think Iman Vellani has been doing great in her role, which we'll speak about later. I necessarily didn't care for Carol Danvers or Monica Rambeau in their previous outings in the MCU. So it was really an idea of let me just go in with an open heart and see what this is about. And in terms of how I walked out of this movie, I was pleasantly surprised and I had a good time. It was fun. If I had to put it simply, bro, it was fun, right? And so this conversation leads into the next thing that I want to get into before we even dive into the movie, and that's Marvel fans, right? And if anyone's listening who hasn't seen this movie, don't get turned off of what I'm saying here because I'm not necessarily speaking to you. I just want to say this because this is the general consensus I get from online. This movie was never going to get a fair chance at being successful. From Captain Marvel 2, right? That's what this movie was originally announced as. People were like, nah, that movie's gonna be trash because the first one is trash, because Brie Larson is trash, because the character of Captain Marvel is trash. Those are the thoughts that immediately went into people's minds. They expressed it on the internet that they weren't going to watch this because it was going to be guaranteed garbage. Now, that right there tells me that whenever the trailers drop and whenever the movie drops and you see it, when you come out of it saying, oh, that joint was garbage, even if it is garbage, my mentality is you never wanted it to be good, right? And then there's people that were hating on Monica Rambeau or just calling it all woke and stuff like that, which I can't stand the term woke or any of that. I'm just like, bro, chill, just relax. Overall, the film wasn't given a fair shot. It wasn't. People weren't going to go watch a movie with 3 women in the lead. They weren't going to go watch Captain Marvel 2. They weren't going to go watch the follow-up to Miss Marvel. They weren't going to do any of that, man. And it's unfortunate. I just think Marvel fans need to understand that sometimes things aren't going to be made specifically with you in mind. The same way Star Wars fans need to keep that in mind. You know, you might not be a part of this target audience anymore. You know, there were little girls speaking about how they were wanting to dress up as Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau after this movie. I was watching interviews online with the dudes that went with their daughters, and they were like, I thought it was okay, but my daughter loved it. The same way your pops probably thought Iron Man 1 and 2 was okay, but you wanted to be Tony Stark. So I just think that people need to get this mindset right that it's not trash just because you didn't enjoy it. And it's the greatest thing in the world or it's trash. It can be a middle ground.
Yeah, man, I know that Rotten Tomatoes is a rotten spot sometimes to go to for reviews, but one thing I love to watch for is moments when critics really dog a movie and then the users come and say it's certified fresh. Like, I know they're not certified fresh, but when majority of people are watching a film and they very much enjoy it, you got to go pay attention for that. More than what anybody is majorly saying or what critics' voice might have made its way to your ear or whatever it is they're saying on Twitter about how much money they lost and how much the production was. Like, okay, losses like that happen sometimes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the movie isn't a good movie or that there isn't something enjoyable to find. There's gray space. So, I don't know, man. We just live in a funny world, bro. A lot of judgment, not a lot of appreciation for anything. But then when you get deep and you start looking at some of why things could have been put together, people like to joke around and say, oh, you're looking at it too deep. It's just this, it's just that. That's where I get frustrated with directors even that kind of play into this. I think directors play a role in this. I think the ones that talk crap about superhero movies, as much as I know that they are saying some stuff I can understand about cinema, I look at the concept and I'm like, bro, you're not adding to the fact that there's gray space, that mediocre movies are what make really special movies stand out even more. You don't get a mountain without valleys. You don't get valleys without mountains. And each of them have different purposes. I look at it all And I'm like, movies are movies. Marvel is like, Marvel has been like mediocre junk food for the last couple of years. But back when they first started, it felt like gourmet junk food. It felt like I had popped a bag of popcorn and I had gotten like some Sour Patch, and I really like was smashing this. Like, yo, this is grub right now. Like, this is hitting. Like, it's not a 5-star steak. Like, but it's hitting though. You know.
You know, I get what you're saying. This movie actually made me go back and start my MCU rewatch again. I feel like it's been long enough. We've gotten a lot of stuff from phase 4 and 5, and I'm like, I need to see things. I need to re-experience some things nowadays. And you know, phases 1 and 2 of the MCU, I feel like are similar to this, if I gotta be honest. In this state of Marvel, I just think people were more open to be lenient as they were starting something out. And what I don't think people understand nowadays is that they're starting out again. It's just they're starting out after hitting a high, hitting a peak, as people would say. And people aren't willing to let them try and build up again. A lot of those phase 1 and 2 movies, the flip flopping of averageness to, oh, shoot, this could be something great, is there. It's there. And I would challenge people to go back and watch some of these movies with that perspective and being honest. You know, I don't know if people would be honest about how they feel about older MCU movies nowadays, because they may not want to sound stupid after calling the MCU crap, after saying phases 1 through 3 were the greatest thing in the world. Point is, for me, I think this movie deserved the chance that it didn't get. And I think people need to remember that Marvel, like you said, they ain't the 10 out of 10 movies. You know, a lot of the time they are just the, oh shoot, let's enjoy and have a good time. The early MCU movies, they one thing I will say is the averageness of them, at least they felt like they were trying to be something cinematic. Versus nowadays, I think they are just trying to be another superhero movie. They're like, all right, we've got the bag now. People are locked in. We'll just make a superhero movie versus trying to be something cinematic. But either way, let's get into the Marvels, bro. I can't say anything else. Let's get into the Marvels, bro. I think that this movie, following what I just said, is an example of an average superhero movie, but it's a super fun one at that versus some of the other averages we've seen this year. This one's an average movie.
I agree. This is the stuff that Scorsese and all these legendary directors are like, this is what superhero movies are doing to us. They're lowering our quality. They're trash. That's what this was. It's not that it's trash in the sense of it wasn't enjoyable, but it's like it's what we expect at this point. It's not innovative in any way, shape, or form. What I did think was innovative was the opening with the graphic that was done by the animation team to like show Kamala Khan's like fantasy of being besties with Captain Marvel. I like the way they did that because I don't know, like I was watching it and I was like, this is a great way to recap this character's story in a way that's authentic to her character. So it was tied to development. So when they make decisions like that and they do stuff like that with the cinematography where they can speak to themes, I like that. But normal CGI stuff otherwise, and the sound was cool. There were a couple edits that are quick and jokes hidden in those quick edits that I also thought were kind of funny. And it had been a while since I've seen Marvel use those old tricks, so it almost felt refreshing, which was weird because it's like Ant-Man did not have any of that. You know what I mean? Like Ant-Man did not have any finesse. It felt like there was some finesse. There's a joke that goes by. This movie's also, we're going to talk about writing. We're going to talk about writing, but a part of why it's a funny movie is also because of how it's shot in certain scenes too. So I don't know, bro. There are certain things I liked, but overall, just superhero stuff. It's just a superhero flick, bro.
You know, for me, it's okay that it's just superhero stuff because not every movie needs to be this big, crazy, generational, remembered 100 years from now movie. You know what I'm saying? Some movies are meant to entertain the certain crowd of the moment and then keep it pushing. They're aimed for specific audiences, similar to how we spoke about FNAF, right? It was made with intentionality towards a specific group of people. And so for me, I'm like, I don't need this to blow me away. You know what I'm saying? I looked for a fun superhero movie and I got one. This, like I said, it doesn't need to be generational or legacy defining or anything like that.
I don't know. I think I am also looking for something generational because it's like Disney. Like Disney is using a similar formula every movie, but the way they stress their pens and they write these stories and they imagine these concepts, you know, they're all dressed up really well to hide something deep in terms of theme and development. Um, and so I don't know. There's a standard that I still have for them at the same time. It's so weird, man. I just feel like they act like these movies are standard list, and that's where we got to kill that nonsense. You're bugging out. Like these are actors actually putting performances on. People are legit lining up the music for the movie. There's people in the editing room for thousands of hours. Like, stop.
Yeah, nah, to call it standard list is insane, right? Because there are people putting in that work. And there are people that want this to be the best thing they have put out, right? But again, when it comes to movie genres, it's a different standard, I feel like, than Oppenheimer. I'm not judging the Marvels and Oppenheimer on the same platform. Some would argue maybe I should. Fuck that. Speaking of a group of people though that put their all into it, let's talk about the actors. And I want to start with Brie Larson because Brie Larson is Captain Marvel. And she's gotten a lot of hate in previous years about the way she's played her character. And I've always kind of felt like there's a iffy maybe it is on her, but it also might be on direction. And this movie proved to me at least it's got to be direction. I think Brie Larson was great in this movie. I think that she had energy that was needed in her other two roles. From a writing perspective, she couldn't be there yet, though. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. She grew into somebody I enjoyed, and that's because Nia DaCosta knew that Brie Larson's acting style was what we saw in this movie. And it was great. It was brilliant to have her be energetic, but also kind of like you feel like she's letting stuff out that she was never able to let out before because of the situation that Carol was in. Brilliant. Brilliant stuff. I'm incredibly happy for Brie Larson that she was able to do her thing with this movie. I don't know if she would feel that this movie had different energy, but I felt the energy. I wish this is who I had met before, but I also understand kind of why we didn't.
Brie did a great job. She did an excellent job. I agree. She was actually like one of my favorite. I say she's my second favorite character in the whole film. You know, if I had to say the three, I thought they all did a great job. I think they all played their characters really well. But in terms of storyline, it was interesting what they were doing with Captain Marvel's storyline, and Brie, she did it well. She definitely put it on well. It was very believable. If you've not seen her in Room, which is the one that won her Oscar, you got to. You got to. She can act. So to see that someone recognized that was like, hold up. This is somebody who competed for the Oscars. Like, why are we not putting her to work? What's going on?
I mean, I was getting some Scott Pilgrim vibes, if you know what I'm saying, from Brie Larson. But let's move on to someone who I hope wins an Oscar in the future, Iman Vellani. She's perfection. She was my favorite actor in the movie. She kills her role, and that's because she gets to live her role every day. She is perfection, perfect casting since Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, bro. I will not get tired of watching her on my screen as Kamala Khan. Like, energy. You know that energy that Tony Dalton has, that Pedro Pascal has, that you can tell that they enjoy what they do and that you can see it through the screen. That's what I saw with Iman Vellani. She's perfection. Forever. I'll be there. If she's in the project, I'll be there to support her.
Yeah, she's about to launch off. I'm excited for her. Very much enjoyed her in the movie. Like I said, man, I just think it's character development, man. You can't have a great character development without great actors and actresses. And so she did a great job with this. I would honestly, it's probably very easy to write for her. I would imagine, because if you have somebody who can act like that, it's so much easier to write for them and write into their strengths.
Bro, give her a few years and trust. She's not even gonna need the writers, bro. She's gonna be able to just pop out and be like, this is what my character needs. I'm gonna do it the same way Dule Hill did that sometimes, or James Roday did that sometimes, or on Psych. She's just gonna be like, here's what I'm saying, and they're gonna be like, okay, Downey Jr., okay. And that's it. Let's move on to Tiana Paris. I liked her here. I thought I liked her here more than I did on WandaVision, maybe because she had more of a presence here. She didn't necessarily need to follow behind, Scarlet Witch or, Vision or anything like that. And so here I was able to just see her as like the main character. And I enjoyed her very much. She was fun. She brought the good energy, same way everybody did. This was a very energetic film. And I think she felt more comfortable in her role here than maybe she did in WandaVision, but it makes sense because her character is in a better place here than she was in WandaVision.
Yeah, I mean, listen, bro. For me, I thought Tiana Paris was great because I didn't feel like I connected with her a lot on WandaVision. I felt like in WandaVision, she felt very. I think it was just hard to introduce her in that setting when it's called WandaVision. Like it wasn't about her in any way. She was a supporting role. And there were interesting mystery points amidst that time that were it's just really hard to connect with her character. So when they explain how she gets her powers, for some people I know they never even saw WandaVision. So I heard some people in the theater talking about, well, how did she get her powers? Did I miss that one? Oh, I must have missed it, which I don't know how you missed that. It was COVID. But it's like for Tiana, she has to make her appearance almost once again, type of deal. And that's why I respect her as an actress. I felt she did a great job at that. She played the innocent role of the niece of Captain Marvel while also being able to be the big sister to Iman's character. And I just loved her. I loved the way she did it. And I loved how brilliant she was. I love that she was so smart. And I think like it requires a certain level of multifacetedness in your trade to be able to put on all these different personas as a character and still teach us who you are. That's a skill. So I respect her. I respect her for what she does. Is she my favorite? No. Still the other two. I thought the other two cooked, but she did a great job. She accomplished the assignment. You know what I mean? She accomplished the assignment.
Listen, bro, she did what she needed to do. Like I said, and like you stated, that WandaVision to here, it feels different. The energy is different. Speaking of different energies, though, Sam Jackson's in this movie as Nick Fury, and a lot of people feel that Nick Fury was a different character in this movie than we've ever seen him before. Yada, yada, yada. I hate him. He's too jokey, whatever. For me, this felt like a better Nick Fury than Secret Invasion. This felt like the journey he was headed down when we see him in Age of Ultron, then we see him at the end of Infinity War, then we know that he's kind of up to something in Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. This feels like the path that Nick Fury was going down, especially being a Captain Marvel sequel. This is that character. He's in a different space. Secret Invasion did something completely different. It introduced the Nick Fury that if we would have gotten and expanded upon why and where he was this whole time and yada, yada, yada more, I would have been like, okay, cool. But we didn't get any of that. So I like this. I liked him in this movie more than a lot of other people did. I think everybody just wants that Avengers 1 take no shit Nick Fury, which he ain't that character anymore. He's been through things.
Yeah, bro. I just think the same exact thing. I think when you look at it, he's special is because he had always been headed toward this arc. Like you talk about with Brie Larson, this is Samuel Jackson's pocket. Samuel L. Jackson's pocket. Why would he not be in this pocket? Like that's why Secret Invasion was trash. Loved him in this movie. I thought his energy was different. I think that, again, when you have a generational film with a bunch of different perspectives on this type of a character coming from Miss Marvel, Carol, and then Monica, I look at it and I'm like, okay, it makes sense for him to be like this because this is the authentic, like you said, a progression of this character. I love that he got to fill that out without it feeling corny or it feeling like, oh, there's Samuel L. Jackson doing what he always does. It still feels like Nick Fury to me the entire time. When he shoots the dude dead in the face after he gets the gun tossed to him, when she throws, there's certain like lethal moments where you're like, oh no, this is still a spy. Like he go hard and then he'll limp his way into the next room. I have respect for him and I think that's pretty cool that he's able to still get that off on the screen and then not feel corny. And for us who've watched him grow old, that's a bless. I think that's a good thing. It's like, that's cool. I remember when you was getting your whip shot up in Winter Soldier, we thought you was donezo, bro.
Look, bro, the truth is I could watch Nick Fury and Sam Jackson and be entertained. Did he entertain me in Secret Invasion? Yes, but it felt different compared to this. And I liked that different, but then it fell flat for me This different, I could work with. I could work with this. I enjoyed this. And that's, like I said, part of the movie watching experience, enjoyment. Now, if I were to take it to a place where I think I found less enjoyment, I would go with the main villain of the movie, bro. Zawe Ashton, Dar-Ben. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like her acting in any way. I'm gonna be honest, and I kind of feel bad for saying it because I know, Tom Hiddleston in the Loki family and the Marvel family, and that's the wife, and I didn't like her in this movie.
I thought she was whack, bro. Now, I didn't think her writing was bad. Actually, I thought that the writing was pretty understandable. You know what I mean? It's the second shot we get at the Kree. So we could talk about that in the writing section, but her execution of this writing was trash. And I think that if they had someone else, the movie could have also been raised up to another notch. Because when you got an antagonist that's enticing, and then you got some electric characters, that's cool.
See, for me, I thought that her character was just another villain, bro. Like, I think they tried to implement something in there to maybe try and make her seem like she has depth to her, but it fell flat for me. It felt so similar to so many other things we've gotten before, which, I think her performance could have taken it to a different layer. We've seen that before in villains, how their performance can make an average villain more, oh, shoot, that's kind of good. I didn't feel that here. I felt like it was low average writing for a villain with low acting abilities. But, there's plenty of other actors in the movie we could tackle, but those are the main group, the main few. So let's move on to writing, bro. And I'll let you start there. How about we start there so we can see a little bit more in depth as to why you may feel that character could have been done better.
So I look at what you're saying about her character, Dar-Ben's character, right? So this is going to be a little spiel, like ride with me. Part of what I loved about this film is what you said in the beginning about Brie Larson playing Captain Marvel and how she was given the room to do what she's doing and do what she does well. I agree with that big time. And the thing about that for me is they created a sophisticated story for this character really late in the game, really fast. And for some reason, I don't know why, but it worked. It worked really well. And to me at this point, the mark of a good universe, which we know the best over here at CUZZO-OP, we believe the best universe for you to know about and be a part of is Star Wars. Because everything rhymes. You can release an animated show that has a cameo of one character doing one thing in one episode that can make an impact and an impression on why they did something in a movie you saw them in and in live action format 5 years prior. Like they have everything connected. In this movie, what they chose to do with Captain Marvel deepened the weight of what happened in Endgame and the change that went through all three of these characters went through. Everyone in the universe went through. They make light of certain parts of the seriousness, like the blip or near-death moments, and that's the comedy part that I kind of respected because it was different for them. They kind of were witty about certain pieces, and here's where it gets deep, right? Like, I look at Brie Larson's character like you said, has only been presented to us in a Russo format and in Captain Marvel format, the movie. Serious. Very emotionless, very much like, I'm here because I'm the strongest. And yes, they had to protect her as the strongest character, I suppose, and that's how they decided to write her in, very Deus Ex Machina type of character. But in this movie, bro, we get this really succinct understanding that she was grieved just like everyone else on the other end of the blip. And that she made some very dark decisions in light of that, similar to Hawkeye and his dark decisions that he made and the repercussions of those actions that he has to deal with. So I look at her and I'm like, she was the annihilator. She took her anger out in certain places because she was grieved and she wasn't healthily taking care of it. And these superheroes are actually superhuman in a lot of ways. So you get that backdrop and an understanding of Captain Marvel, and then you present someone like Dar-Ben. Dar-Ben is just a person influenced by the might of Captain Marvel. Just like the Sokovia victims are just victims. they're casualties of the Avengers' decisions. And then they put power in that person's hands too. So now you have someone understandable in their pain, someone understandable in their story, because we all wish we were Miss Marvel. Like we all wish, oh, that'd be cool. I'll be running around with my favorite superheroes. That's lit. Like you have a lot of these stories behind the characters that motivate them that are understandable and believable. And I think that's what made this movie special to me. I know it's super duper deep that I just did that, but I just feel like that's why I liked Dar-Benn. I didn't think she was a bad character per se. I just felt like I think Dar-Benn is a well-written character. Zol Ashton folded on actually getting that across the screen because conceptually, if I think of all of the mediocre Marvel movies, she's probably more memorable or as a concept than a lot of these other mid villains, in my opinion. You know, even Christian Bale's villain, bro.
Well, first things first, Thor 4 was ass. Like, wasted potential all around. Bale tried. But it's back to this. She's among the average for me, bro. She is among the Ronan the Accuser. She is among the Malekith. Like, I just don't care about her. I had to pull her name up just to record this because she was unmemorable for me, both on a writing level and acting level. Now, I can see why you would say, oh, it's interesting. I think that there were hints of something interesting that needed to be tugged on and pulled out. They didn't do that. They just tell you this is what it's about. And that's not interesting to me. I would have liked to see more from her. She was stale to me. Just that, stale. So I don't think it was executed well.
Yeah, I guess then if I were to repackage it in any way, I just think the presence of this concept is really great for the main character, the main characters. But even if the villain is, but I don't know, bro. I just think you get that contrast, and that's what makes them shine bright. You know, so we can agree to disagree in certain ways, as we always do. But I really like what they did there. Now, I think we should jump into some of the decisions with each of these characters. I really would be interested in hearing some of your favorite decisions they made with Monica, Miss Marvel, and Captain Marvel.
You know, first things first, I want to say that them having those connected powers made for some very fun and entertaining scenes with the montages or the fights. It made for some cool visuals. Now, for Carol, to start off with her, right? I never cared for Captain Marvel, like I kind of said already. Captain Marvel 1 did not make me care for her, right? Avengers Endgame did not make me care for her. And then I'm like, how can I? How can I move forward? Well, let's put her in this place, right? She has a clear mind since erasing everything that happened with her and Captain Marvel. She's taken off some of this burden on her shoulders that she kind of has in Endgame for not being around. Let's put her in a position where she's trying to be more connected with the people that she does have in her life. You can tell she wants to reach out to Monica and say, "Hey, I'm sorry." Or put her biggest fan in front of her and show her that the superhero she thought she loved wasn't necessarily the best person all the time. She needs to make hard decisions. Those moments were interesting for me to see Carol in because it made her feel more human rather than superhero that can just come in and save the day. It was relatability. And then like Brie Larson's performance, we kind of said it found its way in there to make it feel more real. All of those things I love. I love to just see her become human and tap into that a little bit. The human of Captain Marvel, that's what I liked seeing in this movie.
I mean, I just think you're right. I think those decisions were really smart. Again, it provides contrast for her and it deepens her into the universe as a whole, which is what this movie does. So don't be annoyed by me continuing to point that out. I'm just going to keep pointing it out. It did the impossible and deepened some of what we've been waiting for, kind of showed up on this movie. So this was part of that. This was actually a piece of it, which is kind of wild. So I like what they did there. Yeah.
Now, when we look at Monica, for me, I feel like I enjoyed seeing her in an uncomfortable state past the point of grief that she was in WandaVision. I'm a big grief kind of explorer, right? Because I think that people find interesting parts about themselves while grieving. And so for her in WandaVision, she was having those moments where people were trying to say, yo, what if we call Captain Marvel to help her? We don't need to even talk about her. Like those moments, I was like, damn, but why? Can we dive into that? But then at the same time, WandaVision's not the show to do that diving into. Here, we get to explore that in Monica. We get to see her outside of WandaVision, outside of your mom just passed away. She's moved forward. She's found herself in a place where she could be considered someone special, the same way she was growing up seeing her mom in the time period that they were living in be someone in the Air Force, I believe they were in, or Captain Marvel. She was just seeing a woman run around, flying around through the stars at such a young age. She's now become that. So she's grown to become what she's always wanted to be, but now she's uncomfortable because she's being put in positions where she needs to face the past. And I loved seeing that from her because through that uncomfortability, she was able to come out brand new after speaking with Carol, after taking the sacrifice she needed to take in order to save the day. That was dope as hell. It made me care about Monica.
I agree. I mean, it's like, again, man, when you have a storyline that pulls two characters out of their comfort zone, because it did both. It wasn't just her. It was also what it did for Brie Larson, as was just how you started this whole notion. It's like she had to come out and apologize, take ownership for certain things, and she's run away from ownership for so long. So to have the other end of that, both of them be humbled by their existence in each other's lives, because that's what family does to you, is a cool storyline, man. Very cool. And then for Kamala's character to be amidst it, splash damage of it, lesson of it in front of her, that's another notion where it's like, oh snap, like y'all are just normal people. Y'all human. Like y'all do what I do. That's kind of wild.
Now, if I were to move into Kamala Khan, what I loved from her is, number one, she's at a developmental stage in her adolescence where she's going to start becoming more and more independent. Now, from what we see at the beginning of the movie, right? We see her talking about Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel saving the day. And she almost kind of felt like she was good being the sidekick if the time ever came for it, right? But throughout the movie, she meets her hero. She sees the hero who she thought she knew everything about. She sees that different side of her. And she starts to like almost not question, because it's over very fast, but you could see her thinking like, oh shoot, is this how things are really done? Is this how I want to do things? Is this how I want to, she just goes on that roller coaster. It's this age where, for example, in real life, we begin to see our parents as somebody more than just mom and dad. We see them as human beings who struggle with their own shit. Kamala starts to see that with Captain Marvel. She's made her own decision that she regrets. There are consequences to that. She gets to go through all of this now. So by the end of the movie, when she's like, I ain't just a sidekick, I'm my own me, I'm like, yeah, Kamala, you do that, but you still stay on that energy too. She was still hyped by the end of the movie, and I love that for her. I just loved seeing her go from where she was in Miss Marvel to here. And I almost wish that Miss Marvel, like I kind of, maybe said, I wish Miss Marvel was a movie now, because I think it would have been cleaner than what we got from the TV show. And I would have loved to see Kamala in that space. But either way, I loved her in this movie, bro. That open-mindedness, that openness to her mind and the development process of becoming her own hero, whew, that's some good shit.
She's outside. She's outside. She's really outside, bro. I mean, I love that contrast also of like, I'm gonna do this differently than the way you may do it. Like there's almost an innocence that is restored in Captain Marvel because Kamala Khan is next to her. There's a level of like, you're right, we should be fighting for every last person. Or you're right, I should stop. I've been desensitized to the concept of death. Oh, we'll just pick up who we can. The rest have to stay. But there are moments at the end where you see that flip and she's like, oh snap, like I understand that it's like really sensitive to lose even a single life. I have almost become numb to that because of all the missions I've been on and all the mayhem I've seen. The stuff that made me an annihilator. The stuff we're now dealing with right now. So it's like a mirror moment via a character. It's hard, bro, to do three strong characters and have them intertwine with each other like that. They got that part down really well, however wrote that in the writer's room. And then they added everything else around it. But that core part, it never failed, in my opinion. There wasn't a single part where it felt like it was flimsy. I really rock with their relationship. It didn't feel out of pace. It didn't feel like it was too fast, or it was, it felt genuine. Conflict resolved. Let's get the job done. Conflict resolved. Let's get the job done. And it was clever. It was clever, man.
Hey man, I'm just gonna give them a lot of props because they managed to balance out those three characters really well while keeping the things that they needed to like serious, but then also keeping it lighthearted and fun.
Yeah, man, I agree. And honestly, bro, speaking of fun, it's just a funny movie, man. Really, really made me laugh, bro. There are some hilarious jokes in this flick. My favorite joke, is actually the back end of what I know is your favorite joke. So I'll let you go first.
My favorite joke off the top of my head right now is easily when Monica is trying to fly and Nick Fury goes, "Come on, girl. You could do it. Black girl magic. Come on now." And I'm like, that shit was like so fast said. I wanted to die laughing. I kind of did die laughing because it just felt real. And it felt modern, but not in like a forced modern way. It just felt so natural. And I'm so happy like Nick Fury was the one to say it.
It was witty, bro. It was a witty joke. Like, it was a real witty joke that we all can relate to. And I think that they lean into that side of comedy that didn't feel as stoicized. It almost feels very like with the times, and very like, I don't know how to describe it other than that. It just felt clever. It felt on the tip of the spear of what was funny. And then what had me dying is the end of that scene when they're in the air, and the only reason why she's flying is to catch Kamala. And then they look like they're about to hit the ground. And then right when they're about to hit the ground, Kamala uses her power to try to create a shield for them. And then it turns into Carol, and it turns back into Captain Marvel. And then there's this split-second scene where you hear Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury go, "Oh, it's just Carol, we good." That joint had me dying, bro. I was actually rolling. My boy and I were cackling. And I was like, dang, I can't remember the last time a Marvel movie had me cackling. Like, that was actually pretty funny. But that wasn't the only funny part. There are other funny parts. I just think that there's a lot of I think that they just have really good relationships. So when they crack jokes, or there's little tiny remarks that Kamala makes, they're hit. I also really love Kamala's family in this movie. I thought that every scene they were in was kind of funny. I thought it was like the brother, certain things he say, it's just like, I know people like her brother. Like, and so it's just like that type of a person, mad funny, bro. Hilarious. Like, that older brother gotta roast you, but got a lot of love for you. Very much a stereotypical trope in families. But he played it to the T, bro. And every time you would crack a joke on her, or he would say something about his dad, he was like, "How old are you, man? It's never too late." And the guy's like, "I'm 703." And then he's like, "Wow, same age. That's crazy." He had me dying, bro. I thought that was mad funny.
I mean, I love Kamala's family, bro. I do. I think they're great. I love the mother. I think she's my favorite person in Kamala's family. But one part of the movie that I thought was trying to be funny that didn't work for me at all was on the planet with Prince Yan, played by Park. I think his name is like Park Seo Joon or something like that. My apologies for butchering that. He was in Parasite.
I knew that was why. I was like, I haven't seen that. And I told the guy, I was watching the movie with, I was like, yo, listen, bro, he has to be some sort of famous actor, like, that we just may not know from a movie we haven't seen. Because for him to be here, there's something special. They gave him time on the screen. Like, my man had real time on the screen. I was like, oh, snap.
So, yeah, with him, I didn't care for his scene at all, really. I mean, there was one little joke at the tail end of it all that kind of wrapped it around for me. But overall, the music and all of that, I just thought that was a weird gimmick. I thought it felt very weird for this movie. It feels like something James Gunn would do, but he would place it better. For me, it felt like they just put that in there for like maybe some laughs from some other people. Maybe not. I'm not the target audience, but I liked the end bit where Kamala and all of them get back together, and Prince Yan was like, "We need to get you guys new clothing." And they're like, oh, you're bilingual. Like, you speak English. But even then, it didn't work for me, even if it came around in the end, kind of.
I suppose even then, I think if it makes sense, I feel like what the movie felt like at that point was like someone had written this part of the story in a different room than the rest of everyone else, and was just like, yo, this would be funny as a musical. And then they just brought the script back and they ran it. It feels very out of place, and it doesn't do anything for them.
I could have definitely done without it. It's not needed for me. They could have landed, had 1 minute conversation with bro, and then kept it pushing. I mean, the movie was already short, so maybe they could have filled that time with something else. Didn't work for me.
For me also, bro, I think, there's a lot of rumors that there were deleted scenes that at some point when Valkyrie and Carol are talking, they make a comment about we're better as friends, as in like their relationship had been explored romantically within that period of time. We haven't seen these two characters. I mean, we've seen Valkyrie a couple times, but you know what I mean. And I almost feels like a retaliation from an in-studio place to put this like girly girl type vibe on her and kind of do completely the opposite direction, which was confusing to me because you could tell the tone they were trying to carry throughout the movie was that like Captain Marvel's probably into girls, bro. Like, that's the vibe they be giving the entire flick. Her whole aesthetic of her crib, the whole way she carries herself. She's a person of power. She comes from an army background. There's a lot of different things that, even in a psychological level would make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of what that says about her personality and what she's into. I don't think it says anything about princessa, and it makes it seem like that part of the movie is like her secret hideaway. Oh, this is where I get away sometimes to escape when it's hard. That's Cap, bro. That's not Captain Marvel. If that was the case, it would be very different. I don't know. It was just a weird tonal part. I felt like there was something in there.
Disney be scared to touch on some topics. I think that although I would love to see more of what that could be, this wasn't the movie for it. But I think that it should be explored somewhere because it's interesting. But we know that Disney is afraid of it. Now, something I do want to tackle, bro, in this multiverse saga of Marvel that we're in is, the end of the movie, the end credits, plus Monica's decision, with number one being this multiversal portal that opens up, Monica choosing to sacrifice herself and go through it. And then number two, like, where does she end up, bro? Talk about that.
Well, bro, I mean, as I answered the Monica question, I think, once upon a time we were told that Marvel was going to become more cosmic. Thanos was our first true introduction to what it meant to truly have that cosmic concept really touch Earth for the Avengers in a way that actually hurt them. Loki hurt, but, Ultron was, interesting. Thanos took something from them in a galactic way. He did something galactic. Since then, we've been concerned about how things will get galactic, how you'll make it interdimensional. And we've watched a lot of different films take a shot at expanding our concept of this universe. We watched Multiverse of Madness try to introduce this concept. We've now watched Quantumanium, which is another place where they're introducing a different cosmic concept. And it's not just in space, but what this movie does is it does this intergalactic concept. And I appreciated the way that they did it in this movie. And I think the ending felt appropriate because they earned that from me throughout the movie. There's never a part where I felt like they didn't do a good job at that. Now you talk about the wormhole. The wormhole to me is wild because I'm starting to realize that they've really expanded on a number of dimensions. We have interdimensional travel already. We've got intergalactic travel to the nth degree for some of our favorite heroes that are from Earth. Kamala's going to different galaxies with her parents. That's kind of wild. Then we've got the quantum verse. That as a concept is a certain type of travel. You're watching powers be able to use these dimensions, abilities to cut open and to go into here. They're playing with all this sophistication. It opens a lot of gray space, or what we call white space, for them to keep telling this story. So when I answer the question when it comes to where is she now, what's up for her? It's not even a Hail Mary, bro. It's just a line drive pass. Like, it's a very clean bullet pass, in my opinion. All right, X-Men's coming. We're getting mutants. And this is a clean way to make it happen because there's nothing here that feels phoned in. Everything has technically been set up since WandaVision. Wanda is a hinted at mutant. Wanda had created her own dimension. This girl has her powers from being able to do exactly what got her to this dimension. So I look at it and it's all believable. It's really nice. I like what they're doing. And it makes me go, wait a second, bro. As an ending, is this the first film that makes me feel like maybe it was worth watching all these shows? Maybe they are headed somewhere. That's what I felt at the end of the film. So when it ended, I said, okay, there's hope.
I like that a lot. Like, you're not wrong. That's a good feeling. I felt that a lot. Like when Multiverse of Madness, I don't necessarily think you needed WandaVision because it felt like somewhere she could have just gone anyway, maybe with a little bit of more stuffing into it. Some of the other shows, yeah, I'm okay. Heard you, bro.
WandaVision, Wanda with the gem, the stone actually just enhancing abilities that were already there. These are little things that they wrote that if you're not paying attention, you won't see. But we've been talking about this for years. And now it's like the convo's died down, Marvel's folded, DC's about to take over. This was the first moment where I was in a movie from this new phase. And I said, oh, this makes me feel a lot like when Iron Man 2 ended. A lot like when Captain America Winter Soldier was happening. I'm not saying it's the same level, but it's, pieces are connecting. I'm seeing connections start, and the gravity of those connections, it's universe. Oh my God, universe is back. Like, let's go. That's how I felt the entire film. I was like, oh shit, universe is back. Let's go, guys. Cook this up. And then to end it with Kamala, but we'll get there. Talk about you, bro. What you think about the interdimensional travel?
I am on record for honestly hating the way multiverse is being done in Marvel because I wish that there was some consistency with it. But I feel like because multiverse is a fake concept and a complex concept, Marvel is just saying, well, anything works because it's the multiverse. And it just doesn't feel strong to me. It feels lazy. Multiverse of Madness doing something different than Loki, doing something different than Endgame, doing something different than Spider-Man No Way Home, doing something different than this. It's getting to be too much. They need to make things clear. They need to try and instead of just saying, well, there it is, here's another multiverse, boom. I need them to clear it up because it's shaky. Now, for me, I'm not going to be able to judge something until it's all done. I can't judge the multiverse saga until the multiverse saga is concluded. The Infinity Saga was a fun ride and a great ride, but I wasn't ready to judge the whole thing because the story needs to conclude. A conclusion to a story could ruin the first half. You know what I'm saying? And so if this is the weaker side now leading to a stronger finish, okay, I'm okay with a story moving upward in its ability to be good. But if I had to pick, man, if I had to say like how I feel about it overall, I'm going to say it's fun, but I'm disappointed in terms of multiverse stuff so far.
I respect that, bro. I respect that. I mean, like you said, we'll see how it goes. It was cool to see Beast. It was cool to consider that for a second, what it means, how they roll it out. We got Fantastic Four rumors out that we talked about in our last episode last week. I just think there's something coming, and this movie was fun, and it made me go, oh, snap. Okay, I'll keep coming to these Marvel movies. I'm not going to not go. I should go watch the Marvel show I missed because maybe, just maybe, it's worth it.
When it comes to the whole X-Men thing for me, I'm on that disappointment route that I am because they seem to just be bringing back Hugh Jackman for Deadpool 3, Patrick Stewart for Charles Xavier in Multiverse of Madness, and now they're bringing back Kelsey for Beast in this. I was excited to see new X-Men, new actors do it, bring in new people, tell new stories. But if they're going to just say multiverse and then they're going to do something where they combine it all and say, well, here's your old and here's your new and yada, 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 that's going to piss me off. It's going to leave me disappointed. But, whatever, man. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. We'll get there when we get there. What I did really like about the ending of this movie was Kamala's Nick Fury moment where she goes and she tries to recruit Kate Bishop for her Young Avengers team. I love that Iman Vellani got to recreate the original Nick Fury, I have a proposition for you moment. It was fun to see her try to be serious, but also keep that Kamala Khan, can you please say yes? I love seeing Haley back. That scene was one of my favorites in the film. I just loved having her say, "Come join me," because that's gonna be something too. They're gonna build a little Young Avengers team, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be maybe not good, but it could be fun. It could be fun. I'm just if Kamala and Iman Vellani are in the helm, she gonna make sure things go right, bro. I hope they listen to her. Listen to the people that you've recruited onto your team to make a good product. Good moment, bro. Good moment. Love that for her. And it.
Yeah, bro. I think it just, again, it opens up the door to the big implications for what's to come for Marvel. Could it be done well? I don't know. But will it only happen once? Yes. The start of it will only happen once. We remember when it all started coming together for phase 2, phase 3, and how it made us feel. It's like, what if our expectations are still caught up on trying to have what was, that we'll miss out on some of what they'll do here? Some of the good, some of the bad, some of the mediocre. I'm here for the ride. It was a great film. Now, to wrap up, bro, what would you say if you had to say a score? Would you give the film? For me, I'd say it is probably like a 7, like a 7.5. I probably would give it. I think obviously there's room for improvement. Acts in 2 and 3 that I said have some problems. Certain things that just felt a little weird. Like, did this get altered on its production floor? But overall, great ride, bro. Really great time. Reminded me of why I like Marvel movies. I'm not gonna lie. And Iman definitely played a big role in that. So shout outs to you, Shorty. Great casting by the team. But for you, bro, she did a great job. Excited to see what's to come. What about you?
You know, for me, I'm kind of landing somewhere in between a 6 or a 7, but on Letterboxd, I could only do 1, right? And I gave Captain Marvel, I think, a 6. And I feel like this one might be a 6 too, but I also gave Ant-Man a 7, so I need to do a rewatch, but I'm in between a 6 or a 7 right now. It was just a fun time. I think people need to give it the chance it deserves. Go out, try to enjoy it. Open your heart to it, see what happens. If you don't enjoy it, it might not be for you. If it's not for you, it doesn't make it bad. If you truly think it's bad, I'm excited to hear why some people might say so, you know? Worst Marvel movie of all time. People are saying that. People are bugging. Either way, I enjoyed the Marvels. It is definitely my favorite MCU movie that has dropped this year as of this recording, but I have to go back and listen and watch them again and listen to some outside feedback and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well said. Listen, we're so glad you tuned in to another episode of CUZZO-OP tonight. Look, honestly, you got to keep tapped into the end of the year. We got more Marvel coming, more Marvel stories, games, movies, shows. We're going to be talking about it all, especially as we start the next year, recapping what was done this year. You definitely got to stay tapped in. Look out for a Loki episode. Look out for a Spider-Man 2 episode. It's all on the way. Anything that has to do with Marvel, we'll cover it over here at CUZZO-OP, along with any other piece of TV, movies, and video games. Because when you tune into CUZZO-OP, you know what you'll find. 2 cousins, 1 podcast, endless entertainment. Doses.